Hengst would pounce on, if he still wanted them in custody. For all she knew, someone had carted him off to be yelled at by old men in suits over the waste of money and life he was responsible for. They found another car, this time abandoned on the side of the road. Elaine had no idea why the owner had left it there, but they weren't going to turn their backs on it. It started after some finagling. She had learned a couple of ways to hotwire a car, but the easiest ones were the older vehicles where she could use a flathead screwdriver. "You think he's going to follow?" Elaine almost jumped when George spoke. Those were the first words exchanged between them in hours. Both needed time to recover from and process their trauma over having been so close to being killed by a dragon. Twice. "What?" Elaine played around with the stick shift. She'd learned to drive a manual transmission, but it had been a while, and she was having some trouble with it. "Hengst, we haven't been moving fast. I would have thought they would have caught up to us by now, but the area looks about as abandoned as it was since we started." George grunted when they hit a pothole and jarred his wounds. "You think he's going to follow us, or will he let us go?" "I don't know." Elaine had been trying not to think about it. "I hoped he would have bigger fish to fry, but what little time I've spent with the asshole told me he's not strictly logical in his dealings. Whatever he does probably won't be what we expect." "How well do you know him?" Elaine shrugged. "Not well, which means probably as well as anyone knows him. Still, he has bigger problems to deal with now." "Problems out west?" "Yes." George raised an eyebrow. "Yeah." "You think we should head out there if that's where he is?" Elaine sighed, watching the gas gauge in their stolen car go down steadily. "We have to. He could get recalled, leaving nothing to stop Naya from taking over Moab, except for the people already defending it." Neither of them wanted to talk about it. The thought of facing Naya again made Elaine want to turn the car around, but there was no choice. Not for her, anyway. George could probably duck out whenever he wanted, but Naya had killed most of his family and friends. He didn't have much to return to, so he stuck with her. That would probably change during the lengthy trip to Moab, but she appreciated the company, even if he was quiet most of the time. It didn't take long for this car to run out of gas, which left them with no option but to walk again. She still had some reserve funds, and she could transfer them into the account linked to her U.S. debit card once they got to a computer somewhere, but for the moment, stealing cars or walking were their only options. Thankfully, Elaine spotted a farmhouse not too far down the road. "We might want to get some food there," George muttered. "See about changing these bandages? Doc said they needed to be changed regularly or risk infection." Elaine nodded, shading her eyes with her hand to get a better view. The place looked abandoned, although farming implements and cars were still out in the open. Its occupants had probably abandoned it quickly. That, or they were dead. Between the dragons and the monsters popping up, either was possible. Elaine couldn't help but feel bad about scavenging through the landscape. There wasn't much else they could do, but it was difficult to avoid knowing they were trespassing on someone's property. A family home, from the looks of the toys left in the yard. "What's the matter?" George picked up on her hesitation. "I don't know. It seems wrong to pilfer from these places," she shrugged. "They might all be dead already for all we know. The stuff here will do us a hell of a lot more good than it'll do them." I know," she sighed and wiped the sweat from her forehead. It was unseasonably warm, and Elaine had begun to think the dragons might have something to do with that. "It just feels wrong, that's all." George nodded. "Think we should move on?" "No point. It'll feel wrong in the next place, and the one after that. Assuming we don't accidentally stumble on a meth lab or something." He nodded.